Joining us today is a man who has guided the Rio Grande Valley through hurricanes, tornadoes, freezes, and even the unforgettable Christmas Eve 2004 storm.
The snowstorm.
Snowstorm. A trusted voice for over 40 years. He has inspired students, led science programs, and helped over 100,000 families with the Tim's Coats Project. He is also an Emmy Award winner, hometown hero, a true Valley icon. Please welcome Chief Meteorologist Tim Smith.
Good day. How are you? What a lovely introduction. Thank you.
Good. I'm glad.
I don't know who you're talking about, but that's all great stuff.
It's an honor. When I told some of my friends that I had you coming on the show, they were just like, wow. The 5 number 1. And just so you know, Tim, we hadn't told you this, but on our show, we mainly focus on the 5 pillars. We talk about the 5 pillars of life, which is emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial. So those are the different things that we'll kind of go over and tie it into what you do. So let's start with the emotional side. I just spoke about that you guide people when you're talking about like the snowstorms, and we had one in the freezes, but there's rain, there's tornadoes at times and stuff. How do you prepare yourself, or how does it affect you emotionally? Because that's a lot of pressure to get that out to people and all that stuff. How do you deal with those kind of things?
Well, number one, we just want to keep people safe. That's the bottom line. When some kind of bad weather comes in, we just want people to be safe. And the more informed you are, the safer you'll be. So if we can keep you informed during severe weather, whether it's a flood, which we've seen a lot of here, or a windstorm of some kind, or a hailstorm, or the snowstorm, we just want you to be safe. And so I have to rely, and our team has to rely on our background and all the studying and the homework we've done to be able to convey the message to you, what you need to do to stay safe. And so that's what it's all about. And if we can do that, and if we're prepared, like with anything, if you're prepared, you'll be fine. And so the better preparation you do. And so we do. We practice, we study the weather 24 hours a day, it seems like. Get up in the morning and look at the weather, because I know when I get to HEB, somebody's going to ask me about it. So
they
so
see
I have to know.
Like...
Yeah, they're going to say, "How's the weather?" And if I give them a bad answer, but ultimately, if there's something bad coming, I want to be able to say, "Well, it's fine today, but be ready tomorrow," kind of thing. And so it's a matter of being prepared. And if we're prepared, just like a ball player or anything else, if you're prepared, then you go in and you'll be able to do okay, and hopefully people will be able to stay safe. Now, if people listen or not, that's the challenge. And speaking the right language, and I mean that, there's a lot of social science involved in how to say things,
right?
And so we're always working on that, trying to be better. If somebody is injured or there's property damage, or God forbid somebody dies in a storm,
right?
We take that very personally, because what could we have done to better prepare them? And so it's tough.
Well, being a Rio Grande Valley native myself, let me just say, like, you all have done a fabulous job. So hearing you say all of that and emphasizing all of that means a lot. Okay, so we talked about that. Now, emotionally, what do you feel would be? You've covered, you've prepared, you've done all this. What would be the most rewarding moment in this 40-year career?
Oh gosh, the most rewarding moment.
Most rewarding moment. Is there one?
That's a tough that's a tough question. I mean, I think as far as for what we do on the air, I think there have been times when, gosh, I can't tell you what year it was, but there was a time that we we interrupted the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire for a tornado warning. And it was the end of the show. It was a celebrity edition. Drew Carey was in the hot seat.
Okay.
And if you remember that show, Drew Carey was in the hot seat, and they were asking him the $1 million question. And right as they asked him the question, we interrupted for a tornado warning. And we went on the air. It was the tornado warning for Cameron County, from San Benito to Rio Hondo, blah, blah, blah. And, but I know you're watching the show. Let's get you back to your show. Went back to the show. Confetti was falling. The show was over. Nobody knew what happened. And the phone, the emails, people were so upset because we interrupted their favorite program. And so you take that kind of personally. It's like, yeah, but it was a tornado warning. I'll do that every time.
That's what I was about to say. How can you say that? Because what if somebody would have been affected? Somebody would have lost their life.
Well, as it turned out, a couple days later, I was at a Rotary Club in San Benito speaking to the club, and I was telling the story about how many phone calls we got and how angry people were. And one lady in the back of the room raised her hand. She goes, "I need to tell you something." She goes, "I was just leaving church. It was a Wednesday night. I was just leaving church, and my daughter called and said, Tim Smith's on TV saying there's a tornado warning for our area. And she says, I was in San Benito, supposed to go home to Rio Hondo. And that's where you said the tornado was. So I waited. And after the tornado warning was over, I went home and I saw the damage path across the road where I would have been driving.
They would have been driving.
And they would have been impacted by it. She said, please continue to interrupt the program like that. Do that every time.
Every time. You have to do that every time.
It's what we do for
that one person.
Every time. If you save one life or you save one, you do it every time. And a lot of people don't understand that. But having a lady raise her hand and tell me that, it's like, okay. It's like, we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing. Not that we questioned it, but it's nice to have confirmation every once in a while.
This wasn't going to be my next question, but with what you just said right now, with interrupting that show and all this stuff, and now you see technology, it's just advancing. You've got AI, you've got all this. You were talking about TikTok earlier when we were speaking earlier before the show. How does that affect you relaying the messages now, and how are people responding to the weather? Is it something that they're still, looking into, or is it kind of just like, I want to watch my show, kind of like you said?
That's a great question. And I think it's changed how we deliver the message. It has changed
over the years.
People still watch television, of course, but a lot of people are watching Netflix or Prime or whatever,
Right.
So they're not watching broadcast television, so they're not going to get that crawl across the bottom of the screen. They're not going to get the beep, beep, beep or us coming on. So that makes social media even more important. And, of course, our phone app that will alert you, things like that. All that is more important. But we have to go find the viewers now. Viewers are not automatically coming to us. We have to go find them and tell them. So if there's a warning for your house, I got to find a way to get to your house.
Message.
And that might be TikTok, that might be Facebook, that might be Instagram, that might be your phone. In most cases, it's the phone now.
Right.
But that reaches more than anybody. But we've got to find those ways, and we've got to make that adaptation. So we're working on that.
That's awesome. No, but that's
and
awesome that y'all are doing
day.
that. Yeah. I know with me, it's like, okay, the technology, AI is the next thing that we're trying to learn. And, I think the people that learn it are going to be the ones that advance.
Oh, I agree. I use AI for a lot of things. We use AI models in our forecasting now. There are really good AI models that we use now, and they're getting better so fast that I can't imagine where we're going to be just a year from now. Where 20 years ago, any significant advancement was 5 or 10 years down the road. Now it's 5 or 10 minutes down the road. It's changing while we sit here talking, and it's crazy how fast it's happening. And now the issue is, does our message get lost in the sea of information that's out there? Because there are so many people that get a little piece of information. They'll see a computer model, it may be an AI model or any other model, that says that 3 weeks from now it's going to snow in McAllen, and there might be a model that says that, but it says at one time, flash in the pan, and it's gone. But somebody sees that and they post it on social media, and it goes viral. And then I start getting flooded with calls. So I hear it's going to snow. Like, well, no, that's not true, And so you got to learn to trust your sources and know who your sources are. So that's becoming an issue as well, because we get lost in the sea of information that's available.
I'm glad you shared that with Tim's Coats. I think that is so fabulous that you do that. 100,000 families have been helped. I mean, that's crazy, that number alone. How has that affected you or fulfilled you emotionally? How did that start?
Great questions too.
Yes.
Tim's Coats goes back to, we're trying to decide it was 1983 or 1984.
Okay.
When I took over for the late Lee Lindsay, when he left the business and I took over, we were looking for a project, and the dry cleaners were already doing basically something like this. So we talked to them, said, can we join you and help get the word out about it? And they said, yeah, but they chose to name it Tim's Coats, which is funny, because it's like, okay, great, that's fine, whatever works, So it started in the mid 80s, and it took off like you would not believe. I mean, just the demand is there. We knew the demand was there because it doesn't get cold a lot here, but when it does, it's hard for families to justify spending $50 on coats for 5 kids when it's only going to be cold for 5 or 10 days. It's hard to justify that. But if we can provide a coat for them for those 5 or 10 days, they're warm for that winter, and maybe for the next winter. Then they outgrow them and they give them back, which is crazy. Once they outgrow them, they give them back all the time. Now, in the last few years, because of the COVID, we've had to pivot. It used to be we took used coats, the dry cleaners would clean them and mend them, but because of COVID, we had to stop doing that. So now it's a cash project where you donate cash, and we go buy new coats, brand new coats, and it's a lot of kids, not all kids. It's probably 80% kids coats, probably
Right.
20% adults because there
Even
are adults
adults,
that need
right.
to. So we go out and we buy thousands of new coats for people, and people just donate money, and we go buy the coats at a good price.
And that's awesome. That's really awesome to pay it forward, because a lot of times people are so busy, thinking of themselves in this day and age, they want this, and for somebody to be doing that, that's really awesome. So I don't know if you hear that enough. That's awesome.
Well, and it's always the people who have the least that give the most, I feel like, which is amazing to me. When you see the people that are donating, people that come and drop off, $10 bill that are in a car that barely runs, and they're
They'll come
donating
to help
$10.
somebody.
That's like, that's what hits me. And the people who, again, have the least give the most. And you see that a lot in the Valley. And the Valley's a wonderful place like that. We give collectively. I don't mean me, us,
everybody.
but collectively, we just give to everything.
And
it's amazing.
That's amazing. That's how it's supposed to be. So I'm excited about that. Now, let's pivot a little bit.
Okay.
SpaceX, Elon Musk.
Okay. Sure.
SpaceX, Elon Musk. You have seen the launches, you have been there. How does something like that, this person who is going to be, they're saying trillionaire, he's considered the richest man in the Rio Grande Valley because he has a property.
Yeah, he votes in Cameron County.
He has a property. So now he's considered the richest person in the area. How does that, witnessing that, I mean, I'm asking a bunch of different questions because I just think it's so exciting, the SpaceX launches. How is that you covering that compared to maybe something else? And how has that helped, do you think, or hurt? Because some people, see it as a negative, while others are just like, wow, this is happening here.
I'm a follower, a believer. I love what they're doing. I'm very much on the let's do this thing side.
Yes.
There are some negatives, absolutely, like there is with everything, and especially the bigger the thing, the bigger the issues are going to be. But I don't think people realize how many things SpaceX is doing to mitigate the problems. They're doing so much, and they're giving so much to the community. I mean, millions of dollars given back to the community, and they're a big company. They're taking advantage of all the tax laws. They're doing everything they can do. Yeah, I understand that. But when you look at what they're doing for the Valley, the number of jobs, there's thousands of people working out there today. Right now, there's thousands of people working out there. And every time there's a launch, there's a traffic jam. And if you talk to the people who are out there on South Padre watching the launches, some are from the Valley, but most are not. Most have traveled from elsewhere in the world. There's people from all over the planet that come to South Padre Island to watch a rocket launch. And if you want South Padre to stay this quiet little quaint fishing village, it's not going to be anymore.
No.
And if that's who you are, then it may not work for you.
Right.
But I love what it brings. I love the science that it brings. That it inspires kids to go, this is in my backyard. I can do this too. And then the tourism that it brings. And I love all that. And I think that's important. The economic impact is significant. And I think they're giving back and trying to mitigate the other side of that as well.
I hope he realizes that we do appreciate him. I hope he hears that enough. I mean, I'm sure he's probably in his busy world and busy and everything. So I hope he appreciates that. So I really wanted to get that because I feel that innovation, that technology is so important. And the fact that it's here in our backyard is amazing and something that not to be taken for granted,
Absolutely.
So.
It's just mind-boggling what is happening. And you can just drive down there on a launch day and watch it, and there's how many people in the world can say that? There are launches in Florida, but not this rocket. There are launches in California, but not this rocket. This is the biggest rocket on the planet, and you can see it from here. You can be in McAllen, you can watch it go up. You don't see it right on the launch pad, but you see it going up, and that's just crazy.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're talking science, we're talking tech, and you did mention it a little bit earlier. What else besides AI and everything do you do kind of mentally? We're kind of going into the mental pillar and stuff like that to stay sharp. You talked about like winging it and stuff like that. How do you continue though to stay sharp? Because we see you on the news, your stuff. We've got it going on to say, everybody says, ask Tim. Ask Tim. How do you stay sharp?
You've got good questions. These are you're making me,
Am I going
me think. No, you're making me think, and that's good. That's good. No, and I appreciate that because it's more than just what about Mercedes, and I appreciate that more than you know. But it's you do have to stay sharp, and I only work 4 days a week now. Which is nice, and that's part of the I'm getting older. Let's just work a little less, work hard, but work less.
Work less. Right.
And now I've got a 3-day weekend, and by the end of that 3-day weekend, my mind has shifted. And I can't imagine what's going to be when I retire, because it's like, no, I need to get back to work to get my mind going again. Because on the weekends, I play golf, I go to the island, I do this, but my mind is not going like it is at work. And when you're at work, you're heavily focused and really working to get a forecast accurate. We had to stay fine tuned, so it's different. And I'm learning that more time off is good, but it changes you. But I do crossword puzzles just to keep my mind going.
Just keep your mind going.
I do all the New York Times games. I do them all.
So you do that.
Just to keep my mind going
Just to
all
keep
the
your
time.
mind going. Well,
and I look at the weather the minute I get up in the morning.
That's your first thing.
Have to.
Let me ask you a question that wasn't on there. It's okay, so you spoke about it. You don't know what you're going to do when you retire. When are we thinking of that? And no
plans right now until you guys throw me out. Until
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I've been so blessed. I got here in 1981, before most of the valley was born. Think about that for a second.
You came from Indiana. I want to say, yeah, right,
and my plan was to stay 2 years, but in that first 2 years, I got married, and just fell in love with the valley. And then our chief forecaster, Lee Lindsay, retired. So they moved me up to Monday through Friday. So I said, okay, my next job, I was going to stay for 5 years. So I've been promoted, so I'll count that as my next job. Well, by then I started having kids. I was like, well, now I'm here. And I already loved the place. I was playing golf and I just loved it. So I said, well, I don't need to go anywhere. And so, and the station, it's such a great station, such a great company. One of the few family-owned TV stations left in the country.
Wow.
And so they take good care of everybody. They really do. And so I think, what a blessing. Why go somewhere else when I've got everything I want here?
That's right.
Everything I want is here. I can travel when I want to travel. I've got, my family's here, my grandkids. 2 of my grandkids are here. 2 are in Houston, so I can go when I need to see them. So, and I'm working 4 days a week. I get 3-day weekends. I can go when I want to go. So why change that? So it's pretty good. It's a pretty good gig. Why give it up?
Why give it up? I hope you stay a lot longer because we do appreciate you. Okay, so we have a lot of listeners that come from all over the nation. We even have some international listeners.
Okay.
And you spoke highly of Rio Grande Valley.
Sure.
It's shifting. And again, it could go back to Elon Musk and SpaceX and so forth. We used to be considered one of the most, we were the highest in poverty rate.
Right.
Things like that. And that's shifting, that's changing. Okay. What would you say to people out there thinking of moving to the area or visiting maybe to South Padre Island, SpaceX? What would you say to them, hey, that might be a nice place to go?
I think it's a good time to look at this area because of SpaceX, because the new LNG plant, which are high-paying jobs at the coast, but also because right now we're still affordable. You want to come and invest in something, this is a good place to do it because you can do it for a whole lot less than what it takes to invest in Austin or San Antonio or Houston or a lot of places around the country. Home prices are still reasonable, and you can invest here and really make a home, make a business, and be in on the ground floor still. I think we're at the beginning of a surge. And I think that surge, you look around, you can see construction everywhere. I think we're at the beginning of a surge that another 10 years from now, it may not be so affordable to get into it. Mm-hmm. Be okay to be here. You want to be here because you want to get in on this ground floor. And I think we're still at the very edge of the ground floor. We're starting to jump. And you're right. The base salaries are going to go up. The poverty level is going to go down because of the high-paying jobs that are coming. Right. Zoho's coming, which is going to be high-tech jobs. It's just, things are changing. And now's the time to get here. Get in on the ground floor.
Get in on the ground floor. Oh, good message. And that was one of the reasons why we also started this. We wanted to make sure that we had people from the Rio Grande Valley recognized and that people from here started to, believe in their dreams, believe that there's other things that they can do, like you said, invest and so forth. And also bring in other people as well to help. I mean, Elon did it, but there's also other people doing it. So I do agree with you on that. Okay, so now we're going to go into the physical of the forecasting. Okay.
All right, here we go.
You said about the emotional health, and I think you might have already mentioned it. You mentioned the golf. How do you stay physical? What is the physical thing that you do to kind of release all that stress, to release all that pressure? Because it is when you're having to forecast and you're kind of like our RGV guide telling us this, Channel 5 view. How do you stay physically fit physically? What do you do?
I'm not doing as good a job as I should, first and foremost.
You look
I go through phases like so many
Okay.
people. I do play golf a little bit. I'm not good at it, but I love it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I do, but I'm not good at, but that's okay. I do it, and that's what matters. I like to ride my bicycle.
That's
I always say, I ride. I'm not a cyclist, but I ride my bicycle. I'm not a pianist, but I play my piano.
Yeah.
I'm not a this, but I do. I'm not
do
a
it.
real good golfer, but I like to play golf because master of none. Jack of all trades, master
just
of
do
none.
it.
But I think cycling is the one thing that really I really enjoy. Get on my bike and ride, and I haven't done as much as I should, but I've done some really nice bike rides over the years, that you get out on the bike and just ride, and you're out with nature. And don't put headphones on.
Go.
Take that out.
Yeah, there you go.
And for safety, number one, but number two, just to enjoy nature and observe and look around and forget everything else.
Yeah.
And I love doing that. I did. Gosh, it was how many years ago was it? Now it was 6 years ago. My older brother and I did a 400-mile bike ride in Michigan.
Oh my gosh!
400 miles over 7 days. Yeah, and it was up the shore of Lake Michigan, and he's done a lot of those. It was my first, but it was amazing, and it was just, by the time I was done, I was just absolutely, positively exhausted, but I couldn't wait to do it again.
Right.
And so I'm going to do it again one of these days. I don't know when. It's making the time to do it, but that that kind of stuff. I like doing all those.
And
things.
I'm in agreement. I believe that if you're having a funk, if you're feeling down, if you're not feeling well, go outside. Just go take a walk. Go do something. It just makes you feel better.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would be a message to the young professionals? We've talked about the emotional, mental, physical, just to kind of get themselves out there, believing in their future, their careers, and stuff like that. What message would you have for them?
There's a balance. There really is a balance. There's a work-life balance. I always believe on the work side, always take that extra step. No matter what is required, because our jobs require we work 40 hours a week for the most part. That's our job. Mm-hmm. And what's going to set you apart is what you do beyond that. That 40 hours is required. We all have to do that. But that extra couple of hours that you give is what matters. And that's where you set yourself apart. That's where, and do something that makes a difference, whether it's in your office, in your church, in your community, somewhere. Do something that makes a difference. I'm a Rotarian. I love going to Rotary meetings, and we have a good time, and I'm part of the club, and we just do a lot of stuff. And that's just something a little extra, and it's on the side. But maintain the balance. Don't become a 90-hour a week worker, because that will ruin your family life. Right. And so you've got to maintain that balance, but always go a little bit extra in everything you do. And whether that extra couple of hours is at work, or that extra couple of hours is at church, or in the community, in a Rotary Club, in a Kiwanis, or whatever it may be, find something to put a couple extra hours into, and that's what will make you stand out. That's what will make you special. I really believe that.
Great message, because then I think we're seeing a shift, a pivot again, because for a time it was kind of like, oh, you don't need to work that hard. You don't need this. So I think, it kind of like you saw that surge, with, I don't know what, how they say millennials, Gen X and all that stuff. And I feel that now you're seeing a surge where everybody wants to kind of start working again. Are you seeing that, or am I, or are they, what are you seeing in that?
That's good. In some cases, yes. I think with the pandemic, we went through a phase where now everybody wants to work from home.
Yeah.
We had people applying to do weather. When we had a weather opening at Channel 5, we had people applying from all over the country, but they didn't want to move here. They just wanted to do it from home. And said, I've got a green screen at home. I can do this from my house, and I can log into the computer.
They wanted to do this from home.
Yeah, from home.
Oh, my goodness.
And we said, no, absolutely not. You need to be here. You need to be part of the community, just like we all are. We are part of this community, and we expect you to be the same way. Well, then I don't want to go. And that's starting to fade now, but that happened 2020, 21, 22 probably. And then 2023, it started to fade, and I'm not getting as much of that anymore. But so people are starting to realize, okay, let's get back to work. And if they want to advance, they need to. Now, in our business, it's changing, and that we'll talk about that later if you want. But I think in general, maybe people are starting to realize, okay, I need to
work,
because I need to put both feet in.
Yeah, because I think that COVID really changed things and shifted things, and it helped with the technology in a way to put yourself out there and brand and give you that opportunity. But at the same time, it did affect people where they didn't want to leave the house anymore. It got comfortable. You know, so I think we're seeing the pivot. I believe we're seeing the pivot. So hopefully, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
The COVID effect is going to be something we talk about
forever,
for generations. Yeah, the COVID effect, what it was, and I don't think we know yet what it was. I mean, we're seeing a little bit of it, of course, like we talked about. But I think generations from now they're going to talk about the COVID effect and what impact it had on all of our lives that we don't even realize right now. But we will. A generation from now, they're going to say, "Man, people changed around 2020." And it'll be interesting.
I do agree. Like what they say, you're right. I've seen that in some, businesses. People lost their lives. People got sick. People this and that. So I do believe that that's going to be something that we talk about for a long time. But let's shift a little bit. Okay. Christmas Eve, 2004 snowstorm.
Yes.
Were you part of the?
I was there. Absolutely there.
Okay.
Through it, yeah.
How do you remember that? How did you feel about that? Was it something that felt good? That you were able to share that with everybody? Because I know everybody was excited. I remember where I was.
Where were you?
I was at my house. We were having our Christmas Eve party. My whole family was there. Okay. My daughter was a little girl, Maya.
Okay, yeah, I know her.
Who worked at Channel 5 as a news producer. She was little, and I remember we were so excited, with just some of that snow. So
yeah, it was. We always say we call it the S word. The snow word, the S word, and we say you don't say that word on television until you know it's going to happen, because once you say it, the expectation is it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even if you say there's a 5% chance of snow, then you've said it, and now people are expecting it, and if it doesn't happen, well, you said it was going to snow. Say no, it was a 5% chance.
But they hear that word, and it's almost like
so we dance around that word is all we can. Some wintry precipitation, a wintry mix. But we don't use the S word until we're
really
pretty confident that it's going to happen. And Christmas Eve of 2004, we started seeing the potential a few days before. So we started up with there could be a wintry mix coming up, but leave it at that. We get closer and closer. Then it looked like this is probably going to happen. We're still so many years of not wanting to say the S word that
right.
I was afraid to say it.
The bad word, the one that doesn't say it.
I was still afraid to say it. We finally, let's start talking about it. And we started talking about it, and we said, okay, Christmas Eve, it's going to move in from west to east across the valley, and we're on TV, the 5 and 6 o'clock news on Christmas Eve. I was working, and it's coming. We think it's going to happen. Now our confidence is about, forecast-wise, we're at 80 to 90%. In my mind, it's like, it hasn't happened in 100 years. It's like
I can't even imagine. Do I say it? Do I not? They're saying it, but I can't trust it.
That was one of the most stressful nights in broadcasting. But then about 9 o'clock, we started getting phone calls from Roma saying it's snowing in Roma. We said, okay, there it is. So we went on TV and started talking about it. We've been talking about it, but between 8 and 9 o'clock, it was dark, I remember.
Yeah,
and we started getting and so by the 10 o'clock news, it was snowing in McAllen. And so we're on the air saying it's snowing, it's Christmas Eve, and by about 11 it was snowing in Weslaco. We went out on Tim's Terrace was the set behind the building, the outdoor weather set. Went outside, and it's snowing outside. We're on the air saying it's snowing. Look at this, it's beautiful. It's Christmas Eve, and telling people, unless you're a Winter Texan, don't drive. Because we don't know how to drive in this.
We don't know how to drive.
Winter Texans, you grew up in this, but we don't know how to drive. So just stay home, enjoy it with your family, blah, blah, blah. And so I was on until about midnight. And then our morning team came in because we had to stay on the air. I said, you know what? It's midnight. It's Christmas Eve. Snow is here. I'm going to go home and be with my family. So I stayed till midnight, and then I can't remember who was in that morning, but I left and I tell everybody don't go anywhere, and I get in the car and drive home. And it took me an hour to get from Weslaco to McAllen or to Edinburgh, wherever I lived then, Edinburgh. It took me about an hour to get home. I got home and everybody's up, of course, and it's snowing. The ground is covered, and I just finished telling people stay home, don't go anywhere. Walk in the house, say, kids, you got to see this. Let's go. So we all jump in the car and do exactly what I said not to do.
Yeah.
And we went driving around. And we came to McAllen to 10th and Norcross, 10th and Nolana, North Cross Shopping Center.
Yes.
And all their Christmas decorations were there, and it was
so
all
you remember
white.
it. You remember this
it was all
vividly.
white.
Look
my
at
gosh.
that.
So
Poor memory.
So we pull up to the corner, and Santa Claus is standing on the corner singing Christmas carols in the snow at 10th and Nolana. So we parked in the parking lot. We went over to take pictures with Santa. Santa had been to one too many Christmas parties.
Santa was.
Jingle bells.
It was one of those.
It was great.
It was
Anyway,
great.
So I remember.
But that
it.
was a core memory, and it was a core memory for a lot of people
Yes.
because a lot of people had never witnessed snow before, and maybe
Right.
some. I think we got a little bit. What was it? 2018, 2017, I don't remember. 17, something like that. But for some people, that was the very first time. So it was a core memory. It is that's why we put it on there. So.
And it might be 100 years till we see it again. I mean, it could be.
Yeah,
You
we never
who
know in
knows?
this area.
So a lot of people, so many people saw it for the first time.
For the
that
first
night.
time.
And what a blessing to be able to work through that.
Yeah,
It
for
was
the
such a
first time.
blessing. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Tim's Coats. We're going to go back to that again. Do we have anything yet?
You can donate. The drive is alive and well. We're pushing it hard the first 10 days of December. And there's a QR code. You can go to krgv.com, our website, and just go to Tim's Coats, and you can donate there. The commercial's running that has a QR code on it. You see that commercial, have your phone ready, scan the QR code. You can donate. Again, it's all cash donations this year. The bigger donations we'll recognize on the air. Big donations we'll recognize on TV, but every donation counts.
Every donation counts,
and then,
right.
Once we get to the 10th of December, we'll total it all up, and we've got 2 appointments with Walmart. They spend 3 months gathering coats when they're on sale themselves. Wow. And they
So it's already
get them at
started.
the very lowest price. They've already
Right.
got. They're
Tons.
already gathering them.
They're
and then
gathering
I don't remember exactly which day we're going, but we'll go to one of the stores, and they have them boxed up, and we buy them basically at their cost when it's
That's
at its
awesome.
least possible
Right.
price. And we buy as many as we can. And we're a nonprofit, so there's no sales tax. So that's an extra 8% we add on
Right,
top of it
right,
worth of
right.
coats.
Right.
So it's ongoing right now. And that QR code's all you got to do, or the website, krgv.com, and help, because it really, really matters.
Yes.
It
If
really
so, if y'all are
matters.
hearing that, make sure if you can, please donate to Tim's Coats. We will put the scanning code, the QR codes that you can scan. And if you need to, just go on you said the website was?
krgv.com.
krgb.com, because it is something you never know who needs it. And that is a way of giving forward. Now, is there anything final that you'd like to say? You've worked for 40 years in the Valley. Anything that you'd like to say? Like a legacy, something you'd like to maybe be remembered by in the future? I mean, it's
For this
it's
podcast.
tough.
Come on.
I love it. The Ileana Lamar podcast. You heard it from Tim
Done.
Smith,
Yeah.
and it's right. We're done.
No, I'll look at everybody over here and just say thank you, because, I'm just doing my job, and you guys have welcomed me into your homes for over 40 years, and I appreciate that, because I know that's almost intimate. You're watching while you're laying in bed at night, or you're watching, the morning crew. You're watching all of us, and we appreciate you trusting us with the information, because, we just want to keep you safe. That's our job. And the day-to-day forecast of, hot, cold, rain, snow, whatever, the day-to-day forecast. But when it comes down to the serious stuff, we'll be there for you. That's what we do, and we will continue to do that. We've got a great team with, the whole team, Sergio and Sissy and Andrew and Brianna. They're all really, really good. So we're very blessed to have them. And so thank you for the opportunity to say that. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. And thank you for letting us be part of your family.
And I want to thank you again for being here. It was a big deal to us for you to be here. Tim Smith, Chief Meteorologist at KRGB TV5, and again, Emmy Award winner, hometown hero.
That was fun. That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun. That was great. Okay, well, thank you all for being here with me today. Again, I'm Ileana with the Ileana Lamar podcast. You can follow us on YouTube at Ileana Lamar. We will be streaming also on Spotify and Apple, and follow us on our socials on Instagram at the Ileana Lamar podcast. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.